Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of Performer Talk with me, your host Simon South. Now I hope that you enjoyed the last little video that I did, which was of my first gig back from lockdown. It's really exciting, it was really good fun. But today I thought that we'd take a little bit of a U-turn and start talking about when you should start asking money for what it is that you do. Because especially with performers and things like that, we don't really know necessarily when is the right time to go from just practicing as a hobby to, yes, pay me now for this. So what I decided to do was I'm going to do two videos. This video is going to be all about why you should do gigs for free, which I know is a very controversial topic, especially with us coming out of lockdown and everything like that, and people will try and batter down prices, potentially maybe, and other aspects of it, but there are certain instances when you might want to work for free. And in the second video, we're going to talk about why you shouldn't work for free. Because there's two different elements to this and different people will take different things from different videos. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so why should you work for free? It's a difficult topic and it's a difficult subject, and it will differ from person to person depending on what actually constitutes to you as working for free. There are lots of people out there, for instance, that will happily perform for charities for free, or will do certain gigs for free because maybe they're close friends with the family and therefore they'll want to do a little something for nothing for them. But my main reason as why you would work for free is quite a simple one. You've never done a paid gig ever and need experience. This is definitely the reason number one. If you've never ever done a paid gig before, you might not necessarily know what is expected of you. So in those kind of instances, yeah, it is okay to work for free. And as I mentioned, the best places to do this are potentially, not always, but potentially charities. Find a charity that you really like and that you want to support. Reach out to them and say to them, hey, at your next gala event or at your next big do, is there any chance that you might like me to come along and do my thing? I won't charge you for it just because I'm just getting started, but would this be something that you would like? Chances are they'll probably say yes, because you're not charging them for it. That's always a big massive plus, especially with charities, because obviously they're trying to save as much money as possible for the actual charity that it is going to. Now, again, this is subjective. It depends on the charity. Some of them will hold big, massive, huge things where they want the best of the best to be able to get there so that their patrons who have spent God knows how much on a ticket to have the best night ever, so that they will spend more on the charity raffle and things like that. But if it's a local charity and a local event, then maybe that might be something that you can look into doing, especially if you are just starting out. So there's an option for you. Go and do that. Another thing why you should work for free as well as experience is just simply to get your name out there. Obviously, when you go and you perform at these places for free, and I have done many gigs for free, it has been for what is known in the business as exposure. Exposure. It's a horrible word. Hate it. But sometimes on occasion, exposure is exactly what you need. And especially when you're getting started out, that is precisely what you need. It is one of the best things you can do, because it's all well and good people watching your videos on Instagram and YouTube, for instance. But if you don't have the actual experience to back that up, you could be someone that can do the most amazing things on video because you've had 50 times to try and get that right. But when it comes to doing it in the real world, you can't do it first time, There's little things like that that might make the difference between you going professional and you just staying as a hobbyist. there are those occasions where exposure is a good thing, especially potentially charity gigs, because at charity events, what will happen is they try and get the great and the good there. And the great and the good usually, not always, but usually have a little bit of cash behind them, especially if it is a charity gala and there are people that are splashing cash on ridiculous things knowing that it's going to the charity, which is a brilliant thing. But then that allows you to try and tap into that. You want to find those tables, find those people, give them your business card and say, yes, okay, this is me, I'm amazing, look at me do my thing. Find them, find out if they're having a party sometime soon, offer to come and do it for them. But remember, at this private party, that's not exposure anymore. That's a paid gig. You're doing essentially public gigs. So the charity events, the big gala dinners, maybe even street performing. Just places where anyone and everyone can see you, especially when you're getting started. You want those events to just be a starting block to hopefully get you more exposure to the outside world, to what people are really like, to get away from what everyone else has told you about what normal people are like, to get your own experience of them. Just because when someone does a certain thing, no one likes them doing it, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to love you doing it. Look at singers. There are certain singers that can pull off amazing songs, brilliant renditions of difficult tracks. Whereas if you give it to someone else, they can do the same thing and it will die. Completely die. Best example I can think of right now is when the Super Bowl get in people to do the American national anthem. Some of them, amazing, brilliant. They whack it straight out the ballpark, you know? It's a brilliant, brilliant thing. Some of them, too much. Just way too much. And these are professionals. So if they don't necessarily know the limit on what it is that they're doing, then think how difficult it might be for you as someone with no experience at all to try and get paid for a gig. It can be difficult and it can be hard out there to sort of push yourself out there. There are millions and millions of people doing exactly what you do. But are there? No one else is you. You need to find out what makes you, you, and use that to your advantage to change these free gigs for exposure and that free buffet that's normally offered into paid gigs, into paid work. And it is difficult to do, but the only way you're going to get over that is by eventually charging for your first gig. And that is scary because you don't necessarily know what to charge because you've been working for free for Uncle Phil doing his restaurant opening and your cousin Dave who needed someone for his Christmas party just to fill in for a bit. It can be difficult, but I can promise you those free gigs will actually add up to be amazing things. Look at stand-up comedians. A lot of amazing stand-up comedians that you see on the television now that are making the big money, the really big money, they started on the circuit just like everyone else, doing free gigs, traveling 50, 60, 100, 200 miles to go and do a free gig, to get that experience, to get that exposure, so that they could figure out whether or not that material landed, to figure out whether or not that joke was a great joke, and also to get seen by people, to get known on the comedy circuit, to be known as the funny guy that does this, and this, to get known as the rude guy that does that, and that. It's all about getting out there when you're just starting out. And if there is nowhere around for you to go and do those shows, if there is no charity that you can go to, if there is no big event that you can try and tag on to, then street perform. I did a video about street performing a little while ago. you should go and check it out and have a look at it. Street performing is an amazing thing, and you can do it for free. Sometimes you need a license, and you get exposure because people are walking up and down the streets seeing you, seeing what it is that you do, and you get the experience. It's a win-win, especially when no one might not necessarily want to take you on at this particular moment in time to do a gig, to do a job. So definitely think about street performing, think about going out there and doing your show, and just put it together. And especially if it is on the street, it doesn't necessarily matter whether it's good or not, because you'll learn whether it's good or not by the amount of people that sit and stay and watch your show. So think about that as a possibility of something that you can do. It's a great idea, and you should definitely take it forward. So there we go. There's my little take on doing unpaid work. Oh, final point. When you do those unpaid gigs, whether they are paid, unpaid, whether it's in a terrible little social club that's not been renovated in 55 years, or whether it's at the most souped up modern hotel that you could ever imagine that's gorgeous, always look good. Just because you're working for free doesn't mean you look like you're working for free. When you go, you turn up looking your best. You turn up and you give it your A game. You give everything you can. Because if you just phone it in, that exposure that you're trying to get, it's not going to work out for you. Because people will look at you and go, oh, I don't want him there. Oh, no, I don't want him there. So make sure that you look your best. You look the best that you can be. Treat it like it is a paid gig. Imagine that you're being paid thousands of pounds to do this. And then eventually, you will be. So there we go. I hope you all enjoyed this little talk on why you should do unpaid gigs. As I say, it isn't for everyone, but it is for those that need it. Of course, if you did like the video, please give myself a little subscription. That would be awesome if you could. Yeah! If you liked the video, give it a little thumbs up. And please leave a comment down below, and I'll chat with you and we can discuss our thoughts about whether it's a good idea, whether it's not a good idea. And remember to tune in next week for next week's video as to why you should do paid gigs, and the reasons between doing an unpaid gig and a paid gig, and I will see you all there. So there we go. No matter where you are in the world, have a wonderful day, evening or afternoon, and I will see you all on the next video. Catch you then.